Joining me now, Congresswoman Cammack is a Republican of Florida, representing the Sunshine State's 3rd Congressional District. She serves as the lone Florida Republican on the House Ag Committee and the Homeland Security Committee as lead Republican on the Subcommittee for Emergency Preparedness, Response, and Recovery. She's also the youngest Republican woman in the 117th Congress. She tweets at Rep. Cat Cammack. Congresswoman, welcome back.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, and good morning.
Good morning. How's life in Florida?
Well, I'm actually in D.C. We got votes today, so I am getting ready for quite the battle that we'll be having on the House floor here in the next few hours.
What's that about?
So the left is bringing forward an abortion on demand bill that allows for an abortion to occur at any time for any reason, including the mother doesn't like the gender, doesn't like the race of the child. If there is a potential that the child could have special needs, they can have an abortion. It's really a horrific piece of legislation that it smacks of eugenics in so many ways. So we're getting ready right now to head to the House floor and debate this bill and really the merits or lack thereof.
It really seems like abortion is not shaping up to be the game changer politically that Democrats had hoped.
No, when you think about this ruling here recently, the Dobbs v. Jackson case, really what that was not just a win for the sanctity of life, but for the sanctity of our Constitution. Because what it did was it corrected a decades-long error, but it also returned the issue back to the states. So there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, my goodness, abortion is illegal. Well, it's not. It is now an issue that returns to the states where people, I believe, as a small government conservative, they have more of a voice. They have a louder voice, a more impactful voice. And so I really think that people need to take a deep breath and a step back and really recognize that this issue belonged with the states all along. So definitely a win for life, and we're thrilled about it, but also a win for the sanctity of our Constitution. And for folks that say that this is going to change the outcome of the election, it's not. People, women, young women, we are all focused on major issues that everyone is suffering from, like high gas prices and 9.1% inflation and the fact that this economy is going into a tank and we're staring down the barrel of a recession. Those are the issues that are going to drive midterms.
I get it on the states' rights aspect of abortion, and I understand the importance of that, but I can't square it with the concurrent Republican push for a national ban.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the interesting thing about it. I've said in so many interviews and conversations post ruling that when you read the dissenting justices, their logic, it's a little bit like pretzel logic. And they couldn't really determine a legal basis for their position. And it was also very interesting to me that the dissenting justices, they wrote a single opinion rather than an individual. And I have talked about this at length, and that for the first time in a long time, we actually see science catching up, or the law catching up to science, because we have some very weird double standards here in government. And particularly on this issue, I talk a lot about the fact that we have the federal government recognizing bacteria on Mars as life, but then there's a discussion here on planet Earth about when does life begin. Science, I believe, has proven that it begins at conception. So there's all kinds of double standards and little pockets of hypocrisy that have to be worked at the federal level. But for now, I think that the issue rests at the state level, where it should have been all along, for those states to decide what laws they want to have on the books for their citizens.
Congressman, on other subjects, the war in Ukraine seems really stuck in the mud and a long-running a slog, as it's now being described. What's the vibe among House Republicans? Is the support for Ukraine, is that holding steady, or are there some issues there?
I think that there's a growing concern, certainly, of what the outcome in Ukraine is going to be. An empowered Russia is a dangerous Russia. And on all sides of Ukraine are NATO allies, and, there's definitely a concern. In fact, yesterday there was a conversation that I was a party to on the House floor where we were discussing what happens should a NATO ally be invaded or attacked. And, that's really when I think Americans are going to step back and say, whoa, this is really not, this is real bad, and it's, I think when you look at the aid that has gone to Ukraine, we've set a standard. The world needs to step up in so many other ways. The protracted war, I think, benefits Russia because the news cycle marches on. Mm-hmm. That being said, though, I do think that there is a general consensus, Republican, Democrat, very conservative Republican, and moderate Republicans, that an empowered, emboldened Russia is not good for anyone. But we've seen clearly that the sanctions aren't having the intended effect. So we need to think a little bit more critically about what role the United States is going to be playing. And we also have to remember that a weakened America is not good for anyone. So the crisis that we're experiencing at the southwest border, crime across America, these domestic issues that we're facing, and as I said repeatedly, we're staring down the barrel of a recession. These are all issues that impact our ability to be responsive and helpful. So, again, I think we have to be a little bit more strategic, a little bit more thoughtful on how we approach the war in Ukraine, but also stand firm and united in the fact that Russia is no one's friend here. And I know you've reported before that every member of Congress has essentially been sanctioned by Russia, and quite frankly, I wear that as a badge of honor and a badge of pride.
Congresswoman Kat Cammack is a Republican of Florida. Find her on Twitter at @RepCatCammack. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Julie. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.